Hello, this is Rocio Molina, Community Engagement Manager for Catalyze SV. Thank you for tuning in to our recording of the Designing for Women event, which was held on March 23rd at the Campbell Community Center. We'd love to hear your thoughts and get to know you a little bit, so please feel welcome to reach out to myself or any of our staff with any questions or input you might have after watching this recording. Thank you so much for your interest in our work, and we hope you enjoy the material. A special thank you to our sponsors, Build Up California, the Silicon Valley Community Foundation, the Santa Clara County Office of Education, the Healthier Kids Foundation, Kaiser Permanente, First Five, Santa Clara County, and the Commission on the Status of Women. We also want to thank our supporting sponsors who helped us spread the word for today's event. Thank you so much for sharing this with your email lists and your clients.
So some of the conversation that you'll hear from our presenters will be about child care services and child care spaces, recreational spaces, things like that. Our presenters are kind of giving a sense of what is already going on, but we have creative ideas going and want to hear from you as much as possible about, anything that you think would be really cool to see in our. So let's dive into a couple of housekeeping items. I think all of you kind of know that the bathroom is on this side. Feel welcome, to help yourselves to any of the coffee that we have here. We'll have a dinner break where you can get your sandwiches and stuff. After each presenter, we'll probably take maybe one or two questions. We're not going to have a ton of time for Q&A because we do want to get to the portion of input. We have a live survey going. We're going to put the link up there next, as well as a QR code. So if you want to provide input as we go along, you're welcome to pull that up on your phone. Again, this might not work slow because the Wi-Fi. You can definitely give it a try. So then, I think, the first thing that I wanted to kind of set the stage for is to think about, in your mind's eye, think about a really cool, welcoming space for you, for yourself, right? What does that look like? What does that feel like? And if it, if the link works and the Wi-Fi works, please feel free to submit a word that kind of encapsulates. Really would like to start with a land acknowledgement as well. See more acknowledgement of Native American presence in our neighborhood and how they are thriving today. So today, Catalyze SV, along with putting together our presenters, we also have volunteers here who will be helping facilitate our small group discussion. We, are a community-based organization and to bring community members, developers, city leaders together to collaborate ways that we can create a sustainable, equitable, and vibrant place for people in Silicon Valley. Today, we're focusing on women, but we always want to bring it back to these ideas of sustainability, equitable, and to vibrancy. Our facilitators today will play kind of three roles. They're going to be welcoming, they're going to be friendly, they're going to be your neighbors. They're also going to set the rules about how to speak to each other, how to be respectful towards each other. And maybe they'll referee the conversation and bring us back to the topic at hand. So they will be there kind of to guide our small group discussion. So today, as we kind of really try to think collaboratively and discuss various ideas with each other, we want to consider that everyone's input matters. We want to treat each other respectfully and allow everyone to participate. We don't want, certain people to dominate the conversation. And we want to stay on track and on time with the agenda. So you'll hear kind of make announcements about the time and the next steps. You'll hear the facilitators guide the conversation back to the topic at hand. definitely be mindful of some of these parts. So why are we doing this? Okay, we get that question a lot. Why do we feel like able to take all of the feedback, all of the we've received from all of you and some of the other events and meetings that we have, and amplify that and share that with the developers who are building in our the decision makers who make decisions about the plan, and really give them a sense of what are the values that already exist in our neighborhood, the needs to be addressed in a way that's really responsive to the community.
We are now going to hear from Teddy, a designer of Architects Fora, and Melanie, Vice President of City Team.
My name is Teddy. I am the designer of the student Architects Fora. And today I also have with me Melanie Davis, who's the Vice President of Development at City. Okay, and so I'll start off talking a little bit about Architects Fora and what we are about. So we do think that everyone deserves beauty, security, joy, and to exist and solve some of the problems right now, which is the supply of affordable housing, accessible and abundant housing. So our overall mission is to kind of create vibrant, resilient, and equitable housing for all people. So City Team really focuses on igniting hope and restoring lives and rebuilding communities. And we do that by serving people with food, with shelter, with different economic empowerment options. And really our goal in all that we're doing is to create lasting transformation in the lives of our community members that are in need. So right now, as many of you have probably noticed, there's such an increasing need for services for these populations, and especially for women and women that have children. The Santa Clara homelessness says that about 33% of the homeless population is women. And City Team noted that as this population of women experiencing homelessness was increasing, the amount of services available to these women, especially the women that had children, was not increasing at the same rate. And so there was a huge gap in the ability to provide services. About 5 years ago, City Team took on a strategic initiative to expand our existing programs for women and children. And Grace Village, this new community center, is that dream come true. So in April of 2021, we acquired a 50-unit apartment complex in the middle of COVID, which was a very aggressive goal, but we knew that the need was just increasing. And through Grace Village, we are actually taking our current bed capacity at this site from 28 to almost 200 beds available for women and children of any age. Grace Village shares a property line with one of our existing programs, so it was strategically placed in a way where we could build this community center to provide a hub of wraparound services for all of the women and children that were in need. Grace Village primarily serves women that are fleeing domestic violence, experiencing homelessness, and is housing for women that have children of any age. Right now, over 50% of the population at Grace Village are women that were fleeing domestic violence. So I want to briefly introduce you to Kayla here. Kayla is the woman standing in the apartment with her 2 children. Kayla came to Grace Village. She was living in a shelter and her time was almost up there and she was going to have to live in her car with her 2 children. And when Kayla came to Grace Village, she was given a beautiful apartment that was designed to feel like a home. And while she was with us, she also had the opportunity to finish her CNA certification. She was able to transition out of Grace Village into stable housing as well as a living wage job. And that's making at least $23 an hour. Kayla is just one example of the success that we're already seeing at Grace Village. And so next up, we'll take a look at Grace Village. So this is just kind of overall plan of what the Grace Village site looks like. So Grace Village is actually a 1.7 acre to support and women and children that are going through transitional and permanent housing. But these participants will have access to some of the services on site. They'll be a part of a safe and supportive community. And most importantly, it's a chance for hope. So City Team has again been operating these women's programs through 8 buildings that are currently for a long time, so for many decades. In total, there'll be 59 units that are fully renovated, and kind of spread through throughout. So, just in general, the site will be kind of act as a way to tie together the community, a way to kind of create. And the Grace Village Center will basically serve as a hub for the community. There'll be programs and services that focus on economic empowerment, stability, life skills, and personal healing. There's also different programs that are geared towards children. So there's early child care for children 0 to 5, and empowerment programs for school age children. And in general, the building just kind of wanted to be warm and inviting, so that anyone who kind of steps into this building feels that they're at home and they can be greeted, and they'll meet a friendly and a friendly kind of face.
So Grace Village was really born out of Florida and city values for providing hope for every woman that's, like I said, put on this campus. Every design decision and program component really emphasizes and enforces these values that we care about. So we want our clients to feel welcomed. We want it to feel like a community. And one of the things that City Team is known for is building that community, and it's a safe place where people feel like they can belong. In addition to the feeling welcomed, we want them to feel valued, that we're not just housing someone in some sterile environment, we're providing a home for people. We're not just addressing one need that they have, but there's a holistic approach that is actually bringing them through the entire process of healing. And then safety. There's physical safety and then also the perception of safety. And so many of the design elements are to meet these needs so that the women know that they are cared for, that they're protected, and that they have people that love them, that are surrounding them.
And I think this is kind of like a really important point about how do we bring these two together? How do you see these things from architecture? So really we want everyone to feel welcome. To us, that means elevating like a sense of place, a place that you're connected to. And secondly, feeling valued, so creating adaptable spaces, being flexible for all of the participants' needs. And lastly, and we feel again, safety is like of course things that you want to have physical safety in your mind, and we think it's important to have visual accessibility throughout. Okay.
Okay, so how do we make women and children feel welcomed? As a graduate of our House of Grace program, I know what it's like to walk onto the campus for the first time and feel like you belong and that you're part of. So clients are greeted with warmth. And one of the things that we wanted the space to communicate was the potential and the hope that we see in the clients, even before they're starting to see it in themselves. So community is really at the core of everything that City Team does. And it was really important to us that we designed these spaces to facilitate organic community happening.
Again, so how do we make participants feel welcome through that space? Again, I think that it's important to lead by a friendly face, or whether that's a participant, a resident that's in the area, volunteers and staff. Also use natural materials, a warm and welcoming kind of environment. And here at Grace Village, there's a place for everyone. So as soon as you come in, that's Back in the corner there's a place for moms to sit as they're waiting to, um, someone or to do, some of the programs. And there's also a child nook area where kids can kind of play and be occupied while mom gets fed.
So how do we make the women and children feel valued? So a lot that has been put into them being there before they were even clients or residents with us. And so there's really a holistic approach that we take. to this. We want it to be mind, body, soul, spirit, everything about this experience, the value to.
So now we'll go through some of the spaces that we have at the first floor and second floor. We have a flexible fitness space to kind of take care of your mental well-being and your physical well-being. A daycare center for young children ages 0 through 5 that focuses on reading and interactive play between the kids. We have your new classroom space where women are mentored and they're provided services. We also have a city at work classroom that focuses on job placement, individual job placement, kind of focusing on the women's needs. We also have an after-school lounge for older children, a place to kind of hang out and relax, play games once they're here. An after-school study space where the school-age children can come to focus and get they need. And again, so how do we make them feel valued in this space? We have specifically designed nooks in this area. And each one is focused on the individualized person so they can focus on the task at hand. Research has shown that shorter series or smaller series help people with critical thinking and logical thinking when it comes to tasks. So these kind of nooks are designed so that someone can kind of focus on exactly the task that they have. In general, the rooms also have flexible boards, that flexible desks, so the areas can kind of be moved around for whatever the needs are. And this is the after school lounge. Again, it's kind of designed towards children kind of having positive interaction with their peers, play, a place to be, a place to relax. Again, flexible seating so they can move around and kind of make the space their own.
Okay, so how do we make them feel safe? Again, it goes back to the perception as well as the physical safety taking place. Grace Village is a gated complex and a gated community where there is that physical safety, but even down to the design elements amongst the courtyard in the center, it's an organic meeting space where women can actually look out their front windows and see their children playing with the other children within the community. Even the flow of traffic has been designed so that children that are riding their bikes, riding their scooters, walking to the community center, and the women are all going to have safety in mind.
And next we have the child space. And so again, this is a space that children can be, they can engage with, they can learn. And they also have kind of open. So this gives them visual access between them. I think it's really important for students to have a sense of safety, a sense of visual accessibility. So they're able to keep it outside and they're able to kind of play amongst themselves inside. We also incorporated natural kind of motifs, leaves, flowers, and clouds that you see there. Research has shown that nature helps to, it's important to incorporate it for the children and incorporate it. And next we have the classroom. And so again, research has shown us that curves also make us feel safe. And this area is really important for that. Because the renewed classroom is basically a place for restoration, it's a place for a new start. We want women in this space to feel really safe. We also feel kind of we want it to feel like home. So throughout Grace Village, we have motifs of home to kind of that kind of fits everything kind of. And then again, we have the barn kind of outdoor opening. But that's really so practice of and feel that all participants feel welcome and valued. And with Architects Forum and City Team, we kind of designed these spaces in a way to reinforce that. And we want residents, staff, participants, volunteers, so anyone who enters the building, team community and creating strong foundation, restoring lives through projects like these are really critical for our communities. It's really important to have these in this. And then also in total, our village for Grace Village is to create a place specifically for women and children to be healed, empowered, find community. What you might do. Point. So first, we'd like to give you a short overview. Bay Area California in 2014, and here's three of our projects along Bay Area. Our first project is it's a 100-year-old office building, historical building, and our second project located in Burlington Point. 800,000 square feet of R&D and will lead to better successfully delivered projects done. And our third project is what we're going to discuss today. Projects Santa Clara Community Point. So here you can see, located in West Santa Clara, along Tasman Drive, to Levi's Stadium. The project is surrounded by a lot of and the project Sunflower. They're just north of the recently Campbell specific plan, which 12,000 new homes. We purchased the project like with office. Gives with staff with budget office. We just realized important project outside providing buyers. So why we made a decision. That's why started over this. So here is what we have proposed. So we're adding homes, right? Square feet of also 100,000, including grocery average and service. And we're providing up to 10 acres outside public park, outside trail. And also we have community or outdoor and also outside. And here you can see the project timeline. Size of right. So our draft EIR will be published early for this year, but go to council or next year. So if you are interested, encourage you to go to our website, get into our code, and lost the page, and support the project. And right now I'm gonna hand over microphone to my coworker, Harry, from the Campbell Consulting, helping us with the public affairs and to go more details about the episode. to the next slide. So as any this small child, you're talking a little bit more about communities. We're looking at the opportunity to do better as well. Want to get active, move around. Mission Point promotes walkability by walking trails as well as designated trails to ensure that pedestrian safety. And in addition to that, with we all know how hot it can get here in the summer, especially coming out of a drought. So Mission Point is going to provide a variety of trees that will show there'll be benches and just relax if you want to listen to music, watch a movie on an iPad or read a book. You have the option to do that. Thanks. Many benefits to Mission Point is the ability to work where you live. So everyone is well aware of especially with Bay Area traffic, it can get pretty heinous coming to and from work, and we're spending a lot of time on the road that we should be spending. And so with with 1,800 units of varying sizes, ranging from studio to 2-bedroom apartments, we have options for families of all different sizes. For those who are younger, maybe younger families or single mom with one child, all the way to multi-generational families who may have grandparents living with them. And so in addition to this, we will have on-site office space that allows people to walk to work. As we mentioned, we'll have over 3 million square feet of office space that will also be lab ready. So individuals or so people will have the ability to live at Mission Point, walk to work, drop their child off at the child care facility, and then come up from work, walk home, grab something to eat, and all of that time spent together, not in commute, not in traffic, really gives families the opportunity to continue to grow together, develop together, and spend more time together. So another benefit to living at Mission Point is a truly mixed-use project that will give you the option to shop where you live. So we're offering a variety of small businesses and retail for given families. Entrepreneurs in small business, they would have the opportunity to live and work at Mission Point. And in addition, the amenities that we provided for the families on site has variety, anything grocery stores to retail to micropay to ATMs to banking to pet services, all of that will be located on site. And so with so many things located on site, where Mission Point is ensured safe ability for the physical and mental health of those who utilize our site or just so to ensure young children, young families who want to get active in our program and open space, we ensure that there are no accessible roads through ordering any of the plan to ensure the safety of and in addition to that, like I mentioned earlier, the bike designated spaces and pathway in the designated walking paths, that'll ensure that cyclists as well as pedestrians each have their designated space to utilize Mission Point in the way that they would like to. So piggybacking off of the walkability and promoting alternative modes of transportation, Mission Point has enhanced mobility options for a variety of families, or with families with a variety of socioeconomic statuses. So Mission Point promotes lower car usage by encouraging walkability, riding a bike, riding a scooter, and encouraging these walkable streets. Not only are we promoting the health and wellness of those that live on the site, utilize the site, but it also is better for the environment as a whole by reducing greenhouse gases and emissions. So Mission Point is located directly along Sprout as as well as providing shuttle options to nearby work and couch. And so in total, Mission Point basically is has immediate proximity to everything that you would need. And so lastly, in summary, Mission Point is going to be this beautiful new development. Young families waiting to and this be utilized through my childcare facility or 10+ acres of parkland and space, the ability to work and shop in the neighborhood that you live in with walkable streets and enhanced mobility options. They're really to live, shop, and just visit. And so just in closing, we would really like to encourage you to please stay in touch with Time to Point. The updates and information. So thank you so much.
One of the things from clients have really been experiencing on even as they are getting on the shelters, is there a lack of ability to provide care for infants? Many of the families that we serve are women that have newborns or are pregnant. And so that's going to be that population is covered, especially for our clients. And I know also the question was asked about subsidy. At Grace Village, all of our transitional supportive housing units are free for the clients to come and receive them. So not only do they get the affordable housing that is completely free for them while they are rebuilding their lives, but they also get access to the holistic wraparound services to economically empower themselves. And then we do have 17 units on site that are set aside for permanent housing that is going to be at a really decreased and affordable rate. Thank you so much.
Questions? Yeah.
Now, are you permitting
Kind of about your physical state. What I did is we have for development that better focus on this population. What kind of maybe workforce housing do we need in order to really support the women and children? We have about 20 minutes. Enjoy each other's company, and then afterwards, we'll be back to the next time now. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, team one. Team two. Thank you so much, team two. That was really nice work. Team Thank you. All right, group 4. And I think as we go through the groups, some of the things you had probably already were mentioned. All right, thank you so much.
Right? It's sometimes not working to touch away. And here, and then the camera.
Right. I'm gonna go ahead and sit down if that's okay with it. My name is Sean, I'm the Executive Director of Educare California, Silicon Valley. And I just want to thank the sponsors tonight. I want to thank everyone who has a vested interest in women and children. I think we're probably like-minded people that women and children are thriving, families and communities are thriving. It's really nice to be here with you all. What they asked us to talk about was safe spaces for women and children. And I'm going to say right now, if you were here for the folks before talking about facilities and space and design, I'm just going to say yes and build on that. I'm not an architect, I'm not a designer. All of that is incredibly important. I'm going to come at it from a slightly different angle. And I went to the dictionary when I was preparing this and I looked up safe. And the first definition was free from harm. And I thought to myself, well, that's actually kind of an uninspiring definition when we're thinking about women and children. And so I thought, let's push that a little bit. If you want to go for the four sessions and groups, probably some of what I say is going to resonate with what we heard from the other groups and what they shared out. And I should also be really clear as I jump into this that Educare is a child care facility. So we are in that space. So that's going to mean that some of my comments and examples may not be exactly relevant for, say, a smaller provider, but hopefully some of the themes will be relevant. And imagine collectively how those themes might and play out in different contexts. We do have 12 classrooms, 200 children, a family resource center, a satellite public library. So we're in a different space that is not necessarily relevant. That being said, what I hope is relevant for everyone is that what I think safe spaces do for women and children in childcare, regardless of size of the provider, is convene people and create community. Building safety, awesome, great, wonderful. But if we're really going to be safe, and if children and families are going to feel safe, they should feel community. And there's three interrelated things that I see in that. One is that the community who accesses the space feels known and valued. Their physical and mental health are supported. And in that space, the folks using it have freedom, choice, and autonomy. And I think these things together can really help us create kind of safe space we want for our community and families and children. But these are just a couple of examples from our specific context. One is on the far left, which is a little hard to see, but in all of our families, most Spanish or Vietnamese. And so for our families to feel known and valued, our walls, our staff, our materials, reflect the culture of our families. Our front desk has staff who know families who reflect language and culture, who speak it. And then also in terms of learning value, I think it's important for space themselves reflected in the space. Whether it's their, in this example, it's classroom work, someone is an artist, families walk through the building and get to see what their children are doing. I think that creates community and a sense of safety. In terms of physical and mental health, we heard really effective about nature and spaces. So we also agree. And so gardens and outdoor play spaces, barriers when we have to separate children for supervision. They don't have to be fences. They don't have to be metal. They can be natural. They can be organic. And the far to right picture, in terms of mental health, there's a bunch of ways to do it. This is just one of our classrooms where when children come in each morning, they pick the rock with the expression on it that shows how they're feeling. Right, so it's a good morning and how are you today? And they will often go back to that during the day because they don't always feel the same way the entire day. All of us, our emotions change. But a very rare area is the space for mental health for children, where they're just not happening and if they're just not interested in what's going on in the room or the lesson, they can go to the calming corner and take care of us. It's an option, not a punishment. It's maybe you're just not here for it today. And I think there's a bunch of ways that these concepts, even in different spaces and in childcare situations, can be used for children to protect their health and to create an environment where they feel safe. Freedom, choice, and autonomy. So lots of things that they want to be doing and who they are. And it comes in every way from toilets and sinks that are accessible to them so that they can be independent and not need an adult to do things for them, to managing their own water bottles, their food, their giving them control. We'll also refer back to some of the other slides in the gardens and play areas where children have choice and they don't all have to be doing the same thing at the same time. The picture here of one of the classrooms, there's about 7 different learning spaces now. And we encourage our teachers to have very little time that is all class instruction. So choice in the room allows children to feel a sense of ownership, a sense of control, sense of the space. And that's pretty much it. But to summarize it, I just want to say, as I started off with, we absolutely first need to design spaces our designers talked about earlier that have the physical safety of drop off, pick up. We know we can't have strangers coming into the building. We need to design spaces that are connected to nature, that have the right kind of lighting, is good for children. And then I think it's our obligation to go a step deeper with safety, to work with our communities and understand what it is that they want and need to feel known and valued, to have freedom, choice, and autonomy, and to have their physical and mental health. And I really want to underscore, because I heard from so many of you earlier, context difference. Context is important and it is different. And so things may not look exactly like they look at Educare, but I think we can all, in our own space, with our own community, whether it's in a home, in a center, in a big play area situation, have these kinds of principles where we welcome children and family as individuals, what they need, and therefore create that safety. Thanks. It varies based upon, so the infant rooms have 8. And then when we get up to preschool, there's about 20. And there's in general 3 adults per each room. So that does also allow for the kind of choice that children can have and still allowing for effective supervision. That emotion, Rock, thank you for asking. Those ones were for our classroom where the children are not recognizing letters yet. So those have mostly facial expressions. Other teachers in other rooms have an emotion poster that has it in 3 languages. But because of our community, we do try to translate everything into English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. But some of them for the younger children are different facial expressions.
Wise creation. We got married in March 2019. So we're celebrating 4 years. We, what is my job? And it's been a joy watching her, about her truth, her authenticity, and creating a place where kids and families can feel whole and welcome and represented. So she prepared something for me to read. So I have some talking points here. Currently, when Michaela said, I want to lead my center-based program and start my own preschool, it was because she was seeing children with individual needs and neurodivergent needs and Black and brown cultures being suspended or expelled because of as a director of that preschool, she fought against the board. The boards often don't have, at that time, interest in children's and early education. And so she wanted to change that. And so she did some research. And the current research is addressing suspension and expulsion of retail equipment. As recent as 2016, the then Governor Jerry Brown signed legislation that bars state subsidized preschool programs from exporting unless an exhaustive process is made that supported the child family. So our first student had been expelled 3 times from his. And the center, the parent was exhausted. It was frustrated at the process. They found Michaela, our creation, and what we were able to cultivate there was identify what the challenges were, and we engaged in the community that has resources for children with behavior. We're able to bring those resources into our classroom. Oftentimes, those resources are not allowed in classroom settings, because classroom settings have their own protocols on how to deal or manage behaviors. So a part of considering building a small home-based preschool is being able to engage the community in such a way that we're bringing these outside resources into the space to be active and participatory. And so we saw that child who, again, was suspended 3 times, expelled 3 times from preschool. And he was our first graduate. And the parents really felt that because of what we created at All Creation Preschool was them feeling seen, feeling heard, their child coming into their development on their own. Other things to consider are the research. According to there are approximately 45,000 children identified disability in this. This number does not include children at risk of disability or developmental challenges. Children with disabilities represent the diversity of California's entire preschool population. Considerations in the preschool setting. And so what All Creation is to do, and what we hope to get into community with our other providers to begin to address the needs of our children with individual. In a way, when we're supporting parents, my background is I'm a clinical, well, soon to be clinical psychologist. I've graduated, but I'm going to take my license tech. So just a psychological assistant right now, but working with, my goal is to bring, cognitive testing, social emotional learning assessment into the preschool settings, where parents don't have to go outside and get these things done. Oftentimes the school systems are innovating, tons of people reports and assessments, and it's just not happening in minutes. So how can we get to the community where we have folks in the community already doing these things, and to engage these small home and large home-based preschools to tailor services directly, so children and families are being served and see. Historically, know that 30, 40 years ago, there wasn't such thing as commercial preschool. And so, by the grace of God and my faith, I am so grateful that we had community daycares, right, and educational sources. Now, if we marry what child care centers do on a large level, which is provide a lot of the social emotional education and growth, and those centers start to speak to our community providers and how to create, again, a network of early childhood educators. I think we will begin to see that what I was accustomed with growing up with was, I like to say historically Black schools, right? We had that one daycare lady in the community, right? But she looked out for us, right? And she had conversations with our mothers and our aunties. And so how to develop that in a dynamic way, that is what we would like to do. In my minute and 30 seconds left, some ideas that I have or on creation, what would it look like to talk about funding, This grant that, the state of California had, not just building up existing centers, but actually discussing some of these homes that are just sitting there, building them up and actually empowering the community, especially maybe workers who have been in, childcare settings for, 20, 10 years, and help them to become entrepreneurs and start small. Let's start having conversations with one another about building a network so that our kids and our families and our kids aren't getting lost, aren't getting, labeled, aren't being, seen. And last point, how to maybe turn, other providers, not just providers, but right now, working with the Juma Family Services and African American Service Agency. And through those agencies, we are holding parenting support groups. We are creating early childhood education, network of providers. So we're having these conversations. And so that would be just getting more involved in that. I hope that, did I get it wrong? One more, really. It is, just a little bit, what Mom was saying. We want to, with my background, I have over 20 years of mental health experience, years of early childhood education experience. We want to, we know, like, without a doubt, like, we know how to help those in need. And hearing that kids are going into crisis rooms, right? How do we start to look at early childhood education differently? And how do we get to really, when we say things like social emotional learning and helping children develop those skills, we'll have to know how to do that. Can't just put in the classroom and say we're going to teach them that. So in my background, and I want to get with other people who have similar backgrounds, so we really identify that and help the kids, right? Because the preschool to prison pipeline is real, and we want to reverse that. Thank you.
Childhood education. She's going to talk to us a little bit about the work of Build Up California. So let me upgrade her to a panelist, and we can hand over the microphone. Sí. Pues, sí. Allowed to talk and asked to unmute. There you go.
Hi, everyone.
Go ahead.
I think you guys can hear me now, and I just want to confirm, Rosie, are you able to share the slides that I sent over?
Yes, I'm going to pull them up now,
Okay, awesome.
and then everyone can hear you.
Perfect. So I will go ahead and start introducing myself. Good evening, everyone. I want to start off with a huge thank you to the incredible staff at Catalyze SB that worked so hard to put this event together. I really wish that I could have been there in person, but I'm super grateful to be able to join you all virtually. My name is Pamela Campos, and I am thrilled to be on this panel for so many reasons, but mostly because I feel so connected to this region. I'm a former preschool teacher and studied child development at San Jose State University, then began working in the ECE facilities field as a technical assistance coordinator with Build Up San Mateo County, bridging connections among community partners who were interested in developing ECE spaces. You will hear and see the acronym ECE in this presentation a lot, and I use it to represent early care and education, the important brain building work that happens during the first 5 years of life when 95% of a young child's brain is developing. Currently, I work as a policy and program officer at LIFT, the Low Income Investment Fund, and I'm speaking today on behalf of Build Up California, which is a network of advocates from diverse sectors who champion public investment in ECE facilities infrastructure across the state. Now, before we dive into the conversation that will focus on solutions to the top 5 barriers that exist for childcare providers who want to expand their business, I want to take a moment to reflect on the importance of this conversation. A recent UC Berkeley study found that virtually all teachers across settings are women, and most early educators are 40 years of age or older. Educators in centers and FCC providers are much more likely to be women of color and/or immigrant women. And that's another important acronym to note, FCC. It stands for Family Child Care, which is a home-based provider of ECE. Last year, in Santa Clara County, the average price of infant care in a center-based setting was roughly $23,000, And for home-based FCCs, it was almost 17,000. In Santa Clara County, women make up 72.8% of the labor force participation, and their average annual compensation is $41,027. That same data set shows us that in San Mateo County, the average price of infant care for a center-based setting was over $24,000, and for home-based care, it was over $17,000. In San Mateo County, women make up 77.5% of the labor force, and on average earn an annual salary of $44,019. We know that housing and childcare are the top two expenses in most families' budgets. So when we work on these issues together, we are effecting change towards gender justice, social justice, economic justice, racial justice, and the list goes on. Given that it's Women's History Month, I wanted to highlight the impact we are making when we work together in combating these issues that affect our local communities with vetted solutions. And are the slides showing yet?
No, Pamela, sorry. Our Wi-Fi in the room is a little funky, so they're not loading. I'll have to share them with everyone after the event, and then I'll make sure to share with them your sign-up code for like your meetings and stuff.
Okay. I will describe what is on the slides, no problem.
You
So
can also, actually, Pamela, if you can, you could probably share your screen if you're able, then they could see your end, because we see the Zoom.
okay.
Yeah.
Do I have permission to share slides? I don't see that on my end.
Okay. So panelists. Okay, or like, let me actually give you Shalini's email so that you can send it to her. And then we'll have it up.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Promote to panelists. There we go. Thank you. Troubleshooting from the audience. All right, so now you should be able to share. Mhm.
Okay. Russell, is there any way that I could have someone help me share, because then I can't see my notes, or I can put my notes on a different screen?
Okay.
What do you think works best?
You know, I think it's okay if you share and we can see your notes. I think a lot of the speakers have done that so far.
Okay. Let me do that then.
One of our attendees is troubleshooting with you, and she says you can move your slides onto the main monitor, and that way it'll be able to be shared on your desktop. See, this is what happens when you're in a room full of women. You help each other out. You're supportive. Thank you. All right. Okay, now you need to unmute yourself, Pamela.
Okay.
you go.
And I'm just going to pull up my notes on another screen. And I think we were on a different slide. Okay. Okay. I am ready again. So, okay. So on this slide, what we're looking at is a 2018 early learning facility study that was commissioned by the Santa Clara County Office of Education, which found that 76% of preschool providers self-rated their ECE facilities as needing moderate to extensive improvements, but many faced barriers and only 25% of those surveyed had plans to expand and serve more families. When asked about obstacles encountered in opening, maintaining, enhancing, or expanding their facilities, the top 5 provider responses were lack of space, 35%, issues finding a site, 33%, lack of local or state funding, 25%, and issues obtaining a license and local zoning or land use restrictions at 20% each. On this slide, I've combined the issues that relate to physical space, which should come as no surprise to those of us who live in the Bay Area. It's a huge barrier for ECE providers who want to develop a new facility. For some providers, it's a journey of several years just to acquire a feasible site. And for others, the obstacle of acquiring land makes their expansion project a non-starter. This is why Build Up California supports co-location with affordable housing and community amenities as a solution to creating more ECE facilities. Local projects that demonstrate how successful this partnership can be include Redwood City's Arroyo Green Apartments, which co-locates 117 affordable homes for seniors with an ECE center operated by Footsteps. San Jose's Ohlone Chenoweth VTA light rail transit station, co-located with high-density affordable housing and a childcare center operated by Cadengo. And we cannot forget Educare of Silicon Valley, a high-quality, affordable childcare center co-located within a residential neighborhood at Santee Elementary in the heart of East San Jose. The following barriers require solutions within the local levels of government. ECE providers are experts in providing early care and education. Oftentimes, they are not also experts in land use and zoning regulations, planning and building permits, financing, construction, etc. These same issues are faced by employers, developers, faith-based organizations, and other local partners who want to develop ECE facilities on their land, but don't know the state licensing requirements or sometimes where to even begin such a Herculean effort. Having local entities like Build Up San Mateo County provides communities with access to knowledge that can be critical to moving projects forward. A liaison at the city and county level is more likely to be aware of local funding to finance projects and can support an advocacy to ensure local compliance of state legislation, such as SB 234, as well as to voice support for local projects that include ECE facilities co-located with housing, transit, and other community amenities. So Build Up California works to address the barrier and need to secure state and local funding that can be administered via grants. And I emphasize grants because in the past, low interest loans have been offered as a solution. However, ECE operators are already making profit-thin margins, and repayment on a loan is oftentimes infeasible. Therefore, Build Up California supports grant funding that is used to preserve existing facilities, ensuring our current workforce has safe and comfortable environments to continue working in, as well as supporting new facilities growth that ensures all communities have access to high quality, affordable ECE facilities in their neighborhoods. So a little bit more about the advocacy work that we do at Build Up California. And when I say we, I want to acknowledge my colleagues, Esmeralda and Shelley, who are in the room and can tell you more about the amazing work we do at Build Up offline. Over the past 2 legislative cycles, we successfully advocated for a historic investment in ECE facilities at the state level, with $350.5 million being allocated to the Child Care and Development Infrastructure Grant Program. And earlier this month, we shared public comment in support of $15 million to be invested in a child care and early education infrastructure grant program, which was a vote passed unanimously by the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors. This year, Build Up California's advocacy efforts will focus on a budget ask of $10 million to continue funding the state's ECE Facilities Infrastructure Grant Program. The size of our ask is in response to the lean state budget that was anticipated by Governor Newsom in January and reflects the need for continued investment in financing the repair, renovation, and expansion of our state's ECE facilities infrastructure. I hope you are inspired to join our movement, and I invite you to take action today by following at BuildUpCA on social media. We're on Facebook and Twitter. You can also subscribe to our monthly newsletter to learn about our events and advocacy efforts throughout the 2023-24 legislative cycle. And speaking of events, we would love to have you join our next members meeting this upcoming Tuesday, March 28th from 1 to 2 p.m., where we will be spotlighting successful strategies, working to equitably expand, improve, and sustain early care and education facilities with our partners from San Mateo County. You can scan the QR code or register using the link below. Thank you all for taking the time to support women and children today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Pamela, if you can stick around, let's let the audience ask you a question or two and go ahead and leave this on the screen. And we have one from Michaela, our early childhood kids activity provider today. Michaela. Awesome. So the question was, they have submitted applications to a number of grants and have not been able to hit on any funding, even though they qualify for some of them. And so any guidance that you can provide on, resources to support with grant applications, anything, advice that you can give them on how to, move forward and hopefully, secure some funding.
Yeah, my advice, and thank you for that question, because I know a lot of folks probably have similar struggles with trying to access funding and applying to grants and not hearing back. Specifically with the state grant, I know that there's an email that you can request more information for. What I've always been told is at the very least apply, because what that shows for us as advocates is that there is a need. And with these past two applications for the state funding, what we found was we've had way more applicants than funding was available. So I think that maybe speaks to why sometimes you don't hear back, is because there's so much demand that wasn't maybe anticipated. And so I would just recommend continuing to apply to these programs whenever they become available, and definitely follow us at Build Up California. Our website holds space for upcoming grant opportunities and open grant opportunities, which we update as we learn of available funding.
Shelley has some input here. So there was, for people on the Zoom, there's been some conversation in the room about how to support applications from early childhood education providers, and what are the supports that maybe they need in order to be successful in that application process. And it sounds like more networking, more support, transparency on the grading process, and hopefully following up with those grant makers and really pushing them to increase the funds, right? Because it sounds like there's still a lot of need both on the parent side and on the child care provider side. Thank you so much, Michaela and Shelley, for that conversation. We really appreciate it. We are close to the end of today, so we're not going to be able to have another breakout, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you've heard. Are there any other questions that you might have? What else do you need me to write down in our report to make sure that we capture the needs of childcare providers or safe space? I'm here. Let's, type up a couple of inputs at least. What has really resonated with you that you've heard today? Yeah, right here. So recommendation for the services hotline. They actually answer your questions. That's great. Thank you. That's a nice example from out of state. Okay. Any other ideas? Yeah. So Catalyze SV, we like to build community conversations and collaborative strategies between the community members, the developers, the public decision makers, to really figure out a smart strategy for building our communities in a more strategic and vibrant way that really works for everyone. And so that means that sometimes we talk about affordable housing, sometimes we talk about walkable communities. Today we're talking about, how can we prioritize women and children, because it's something that we've heard from our community members, that they're concerned about space, they're concerned about these resources that you've identified. And so in order for us to learn more and be better advocates on your behalf, we wanted to gather all of you, really figure out what are those values that you prioritize, because it means, one thing for me and Alex to say all of these things, but if we can point to the recording from today or the surveys or the notes, then we have that support from all of you to continue to push city council members or continue to push developers to prioritize some of these values. Yeah, of course. Oh yeah. The board, we have a couple of links. If you're interested in joining the policy advocacy committee, which does the development scoring, that will be an option in that page with the committees. I also host a committee of community engagement volunteers that help me figure out what are some good topics for events like this, what are some good spaces where we can host them. The more input that I can get, the better the events are. So I really value participation. So I'll definitely take some time to take a look at this. And I know we had one more hand over here. I think that, there are a lot of technical assistance, like business support agencies, but they focus on business, right? They don't focus on early childhood education business. So, their advice might be like more wide ranging and not as focused. So I think to Tiana's point from earlier, that building a network of people who have the residential, who maybe operate the center based and have them, share information, support each other across the sectors, I think is one of the solutions to this challenge, right? Because people who have already done it, they know how it works. They know, who's the right person to call to get your paperwork through, who's the right person to ask the question that actually knows about the rankings. It's a lot of relationship building. So I think attending today is definitely the first step in that process and building that network amongst ourselves. And I definitely want to push everyone here to continue to support each other, continue to lend each other a hand. And I'm so encouraged by all of the conversations that I've heard today among some of the service providers and reaching across the aisle and helping each other out. But we have to roll that rock up the hill, right? Little by little and together. So thank you for that. Make it happen. Yes. Nice. Well, with that, thank you so much, everyone. Let me tell you about our next event. We're doing a tour of one of the newest housing developments in Japantown in San Jose. We're going to have food, snacks, beverages, look at some cool art. Feel free to register. And you're all going to get a post-event survey. Please fill out the survey so I know what you guys enjoyed, what we could have done better, what you want to see next time. Thank you. I'm going to leave this up here. We're not doing the small breakout. Okay.
Thank you for watching our video. We greatly appreciate your interest. Please feel welcome to join us at our next event, experience, exhibit. And also please feel welcome to submit a survey so we can get to know your thoughts on today's program.